Hey, how you doing? This is Wayne S. Pierce for the American Liberty Radio Network, 4th of April, 2017. Chuckling today. Yes, I'm happy. I got my coffee. I'm all set. You know what I mean? You ever wake up and just think to yourself, I'm out of bed. Now what? You know, this is my day job, folks. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is my day job. I give to you the news. I give you my opinions and all of that, and the sources and the stories, and I read you stuff. You know, this is my job because, you know, I believe you need to know. You know, and it's important. It is very important, and I don't want to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be the guy that says, you know, well, you know, things are looking pretty good, and we just want to stay on an even keel with everything else, and you know, I don't want to be that guy. You've heard those people, right? You know, I don't want to look at all the negative things. I want to look at positive things. I want to keep things positive. You've heard them types of people, haven't you? Yeah, it's really easy to get caught up in their fantasies, isn't it? It's really easy to get caught up in their misinterpretation of life, isn't it? You know, I never thought, and this goes back years ago, I was in science class in high school, I never thought that having this huge, positive, uplifting, you know, type of feeling every day was very good. Come to find out, it's not, you know. And then I kept hearing, well, you know, you got to have the good with the bad. Yeah, and that's, you know, and let me say this, and sorry for putting this theme song into your head, that's the facts of life. Okay? I mean, it really means that, I mean, if you're getting flack from your friends for telling them that the government has performed a whole lot of, you know, nefarious things and have created false flags and have, you know, dealt America a huge blow. And, you know, I mean, when you tell your friends that, they think you're a conspiracy theorist. But when you show them the evidence, they'll sit there with their mouth gaping open going, what? I've done that. And yeah, I just usually look at them and go, you know, you can close your mouth. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. You know, flies are getting in, you know, that kind of. So, coffee, folks. I'm sorry. I don't like drinking on air. So are we going to have a war with Korea? With North Korea? Are we going to have a war with them? Because China's saying no, you know, telling the U.S., hey, butt out. And Russia's telling China, hey, wait a minute, can we be a little diplomatic about this? And the U.S. is going, let's just wipe out North Korea once and for all. Who's the bully in this whole situation? That's a good question, isn't it? Who is the bully in this whole situation? You know, I find it incredibly odd. I find it incredibly odd that people would side with the Democrats on this one. By the way, the people that are siding with the Democrats are liberals, Democratic Socialists, Marxists, Communists. I mean, you know, they want to destroy the United States of America and let China come in and take at least a third of the country back. Or take a third of the country. Then you have people out in California. Okay. You have people out in California really pissed off. I mean, no, I'm not just talking, oh, pissed off, you'll get over it in 5 minutes. No. People in California are pissed off, okay? Governor Brown is being a total idiot, okay? Governor Brown is mentally ill. Okay, I put it on record. There you go. You can pass this on to the governor. You can tell him whatever. But he is mentally ill. Let me point something out to you folks out in California. Years ago, you booted Gray Davis out of office because he wanted to give licenses to illegal aliens. Hello? What the hell are you doing now? You know? I mean, come on, man. I was living in California when Gray Davis was governor. Okay? And I remember that whole fiasco. Then you got Arnold. You got Arnold Schwarzenegger as governor. He doesn't have a political bone in his body except marrying a Kennedy. You know? So, what did he do to the state? Okay? By the way, he's in a new movie. Yeah, so let's move on down the line, shall we, folks? Clifford Cunningham, Infowars.com, 4th of April, 2017. Retired general says bombing North Korea possibly only option left. Efforts to pressure China to help likely to end in failure, he says. Told you. China's going, wait. U.S., don't even touch North Korea. And Russia is about the only sane one in this whole situation, telling China, hey, let's be a little more diplomatic with, the U.S., okay? Look what's going on. A retired general who turned down President Donald Trump's offer to be Secretary of State suggested a preemptive strike on North Korea's nuclear facilities, quote, may be the only option left, unquote. Quote, a preemptive strike against launch facilities, underground nuclear sites, artillery and rocket response forces, and regime leadership targets may be the only option left on the table, unquote. Retired four-star General Jack Keane told the Times on Tuesday. Quote, we are rapidly and dangerously moving towards a military solution, unquote. He should know. Keane, who currently serves as military analyst for Fox News, suggested the President Donald Trump's future effort to pressure Chinese President Xi Jinping to level additional sanctions on North Korea will end in failure. Quote, our attempts to leverage China in the past have failed miserably, unquote. He said, quote, sanctions have not worked against North Korea, and I doubt more sanctions will, and I don't believe sanctions against China will work any better, unquote. I'm going to put this on the American Liberty Radio podcast on Facebook. Go to the Facebook. Go to American Liberty Radio. I do voices, folks. I've been contemplating some things in the last several days. I'm writing scripts for radio plays and such, so trying to develop characters for them. That is on American Liberty Radio podcast on Facebook. And like the general said, sanctions have not worked against North Korea, and I doubt more sanctions will, and I don't believe sanctions against China will work any better. That's what General Jack Keane, retired four-star General Jack Keane, told the Times. Let me tell you what happens if the United States implements sanctions against China. Let me tell you what's going to happen to the United States. I'm guessing here, okay? Speculation can, I'm just guessing here. If we implement sanctions against China, do you know what would happen to the United States of America economically? Well, instead of $2 or $3 or something cents for a gallon of milk, jack that up to about 5 or 6. Maybe even a little bit less than that. There's a problem with the economy when your gas prices in certain areas equal, or I should say, your milk prices equal the gas prices in some areas of the United States if we were to implement sanctions against China, because over 80% of our products that we buy at Walmart and Target and places like that, right? Most of that comes from China, folks. We lodge or make the UN lodge sanctions against China and enforce them like we should. It's going to be Germany all over again. You'd have, if you look at some of the pictures of Germany in World War II or just shortly thereafter, or, from 1938, 35 to 45, run in that period of time, you'll see that people were taking wheelbarrows full of Deutschmarks to the store to buy a loaf of bread. Some people would say, no, that never happened. Some people would say, no, that the history has lied about that. Well, I don't know. Give me the truth then. Give me the truth. Show me exactly what happened. World War II started in 1938, and then we got into it in 1941 with the bombing of Pearl Harbor. But we were already over in the Philippines, we were in Europe, we were in, all over the place. When World War II stopped in 1918, that doesn't mean the wars stopped. That just means our involvement in this catastrophe, ended. We pulled out, basically, is what we did. So from 1918 until about 1930, 32, 33, around in there, we were still in certain places. Cleaning up messes is what we were doing. Then in 1933, we wound up going over to Europe. And of course, when you look at the economy of the United States at the time, inflation increased. Productivity increased. This whole business of, supply and demand kicked in. So here we are in 2017 looking at a possibility of another war, not only with North Korea, but in Syria and in other... We've got military all over the world, folks. Who is the bully in this schoolyard? Who's the bully in the global schoolyard? I don't see anybody else going out trying to, or not trying to, but overthrowing nations and installing puppet governments, do you? Interesting. We did that in World War II. We did it in the 90s. We did it. We're doing it in the 2000s. It's never going to stop. Because the military-industrial complex of Europe and the United States are a bunch of freaking bullies. Okay? And like I said, Russia, President Putin over there in Russia, he's he's the only one with common sense. He's going, let's just talk about this stuff. We don't want anybody. We don't want a war. We don't want to kill anybody. What's going on? So he wants to sit down and talk to everybody. But China and the U.S. and all these other people are going, I don't think so. Because the globalists are telling the military-industrial complex of Europe and of the United States and its allies, we're going to war because we need the money. The biggest racket in the whole freaking world, as General Smedley Butler said, war is a racket. That's what it is. So if we go to war with North Korea again, I don't ever think we stopped, but if we go to war again with North Korea and China's backing North Korea, chances are we're going to get our ass kicked again. Okay? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You know, so KT McFarland, the Deputy White House National Security Advisor, warned the likelihood of North Korea developing the technology to mount a nuclear warhead on an intercontinental ballistic missile was growing. Quote, there is a real possibility that North Korea will be able to hit the U.S. with a nuclear-armed missile by the end of the first Trump term, unquote, she said. That's the Deputy White House National Security Advisor warning the likelihood of North Korea developing this technology, folks. President Donald Trump suggested he is ready to address North Korea's continued development of nuclear weapons and aggressive rhetoric with or without the assistance of the Chinese government. Quote, China has great influence over North Korea, and China will either decide to help us with North Korea or they won't. And if they don't, that will be very... This is what Trump says. And if they don't, that will be very good for China. And if they don't, I messed this up. Trump said, and if they do want to communicate with us and help us and be able to shut down, Kim Jong-un and all that. Trump says, if they do want to help us, that will be very good for China. And if they don't, it won't be good for anyone, unquote. He told the Financial Times. He goes on to say, if China is not going to solve North Korea, we will. That's what Trump said. Let me put this all in context. Let me read that again, and I'll give you this whole thing. I'll translate it into English if I can. Quote, China has great influence over North Korea, and China will either decide to help us with North Korea or they won't. And if they do, that will be very good for China. And if they don't, it won't be good for anyone, unquote. He told the Financial Times. Trump told the Financial Times. Quote, if China is not going to solve North Korea, we will, unquote. And let me read this last paragraph and I'll give you my view on this. Any preemptive strike on North Korea would lead to a highly destructive war, with Admiral Scott Swift, commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, warning the war's economic and geopolitical impacts would be felt throughout the world. Told you. If China is, you got a spoiled snot-nosed brat running North Korea, Kim Jong-un, big old fat bastard over there. If he continues to be arrogant to do what he's doing, it's not going to be good for anybody. If China goes in and slaps this bitch down, guaranteed things are going to be just fine. But China's sitting back going, what are you going to do, America? What are you going to do, U.S.? If you do what you plan on doing, we can't help. This is the chess game in this global arena. Okay? This is if we make that preemptive strike. If we go about and do what we say we're going to do towards North Korea, all bets are off, man. China is going to stop us. We're trying to encourage China to go and put this boy in timeout. You know what I'm saying? This ain't happening, dudes. Okay? China, economically, along with Russia and the U.S., are one of three of the most massive countries that support the economic life of the planet. Of major metropolitan cities around the world and industrialized countries. Okay? You got North Korea. We were there from, 51 to 54? I think it started, before that, but here we are. dealing with North Korea again. China, we are encouraging them. We are encouraging China. We are diplomatically negotiating with them to say, go slap your boy down. Go put him in timeout. Go give him a spanking. China's going, President Trump said, if you don't deal with China, we will. If you don't deal with North Korea, we will. He told that to China, basically. China's going, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. Russia's like, hey, can we talk about this? Because, Russia has a great financial interest and investments in China. And in Japan. And in the U.S. And in Portugal. And in Spain. But here's the big caveat. China has huge economic investments in the Panama Canal. That's still on the table, by the way. So if we don't slap down, North Korea, okay, if we don't go in there and do what what Trump says we should be doing, or the military said we should be doing, and we continue to encourage China to go and take care of their boy, then things are going to be okay. If we don't go in there on a preemptive measures and take care of business, things are going to be okay. We're still going to negotiate with China and say, hey, can you go deal with this? Because if you don't, we will. So think about that one for a minute. That article is on American Liberty Radio Podcast on Facebook. Let me go here. Let me go here because it's important to know what is actually happening. Pedophiles aided by the system. The establishment continues to back pedophiles as Trump aims to take them down. It's a video, so I'm gonna leave that on American Liberty Radio Podcasts on Facebook. There's so many things going on, so many things happening that myself and Nick Tucker and J-Man and all that and Brian Lang, we just can't keep up with it all, man. Here's one little article I want to share with you before getting onto another one. 1st of April, 2017, Infowars.com. Stand up for your rights. The ever-growing war against your rights. The war against your inalienable rights is expanding. First, the Second Amendment is under attack, and your right to a fair trial is diminishing. Let's not forget the globalists are also waging war against your free speech and privacy. That's going up on American Liberty Radio Podcast. Certain things are changing around here. I had to... They change all the time. But certain things are changing, so stay tuned because, yes, I will let you know what they are. Now remember in March 22nd, when Susan Rice was on PBS NewsHour. Rice claimed she knew nothing about Representative Devin Nunes' assertion that Trump, as it says here in the article, assertion that Trump transition members had their communications surveilled by Obama administration. This is during a March 22nd appearance on PBS NewsHour. Rice claims she knew nothing about Representative Devin Nunes' assertion that Trump transition members had their communications surveilled by the Obama administration. From Paul Joseph Watson, Infowars.com's body language expert Susan Rice was clearly lying when she denied Obama surveillance of Trump. Former National Security Advisor was deceptive throughout PBS appearance. It has since been revealed that Rice repeatedly requested to unmask the identities of individuals who were the subject of incidental surveillance. According to a body language expert, Rice was clearly being deceptive when she claimed to have no knowledge of the surveillance. An analysis of Rice's PBS appearance revealed her to engage in, quote, double blinking, unquote, after making the denial while remaining very still in her neck movements, both flagrant signs of lying. Rice's movements reveal her to be under, quote-unquote, extreme stress and, quote, being extremely deceptive the entire time in this interview, unquote, according to the expert. Numerous other examples of double blinking are seen throughout the interview. According to the expert, the way Rice holds her deep breath at the end of speaking is also another betrayal of the way she is putting herself under stress by lying. The expert concludes by saying that Rice would make a, quote, really good study for things deceptive people do to hide themselves, unquote. The mainstream media is currently engaged in damage control over the revelations surrounding Rice, with CNN desperate to play down the story and claiming that it is a distraction from their own hysterical obsession with Russia. I don't need to go to any expert or get trained in trying to find out who's lying and who's not, because Mama didn't raise no fool and Grandma taught me better. I can pick out a liar in a freaking crowd. There are things that we should do. Seriously. There are things we should do. Are we doing those? No, not at all. Maybe those of us who like peace, freedom, liberty, and security should do something, anything, to alleviate some of the pressure. I don't think going out and offensively doing anything is the key. I think defending yourself on the level that you are is the best method of changing things. To me, the worst thing anyone could do is do anything in an offensive manner. I think the best thing that anybody should do is defend themselves, and you know damn well the enemy is going to do the same thing. But much like a football coach telling his team and showing the videos about how the other team is performing is something that we should take into consideration very seriously. But that's just me. That's just me. You know, I know a lot. Okay? I know a lot. So I'll be right back after this. AmericanLibertyRadio.com is the website. AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com is the email address. Smashing through the lies of the mainstream media, tearing down the walls of misinformation.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
Shattering the foundations of the new world order.
To bring China into the creation of a new world order.
The truth, the facts, no bullshit.
In this new world, Such dangerous currents have swept along faster than our efforts to contain them. And that is why we cannot afford to be divided.
The American Liberty Radio Network, AmericanLibertyRadio.com.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
For more information, go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com or email them at AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. You know what you want. You want the truth. You want the facts. Without all the BS. American Liberty Radio Network. AmericanLibertyRadio.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Distorted Reality. I am your host, Nick Tucker, and I welcome you to the broadcast.
Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker. DistortedReality.podbean.com and Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker on American Liberty Radio Network.
There's a show that's not afraid to ask questions no one else will ask. Not afraid to say
what no one else will say.
Friday nights at 7 p.m. Listen to Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie, where no topic is off limits. Conspiracy theories, paranormal activities, hoaxes, the unexplained. It's what we talk about. Question everything. Trust no one. Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie. Friday at 7 p.m. on the KCOR Digital Radio Network out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hey folks, how you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyway, this is American Liberty Radio Network. If you haven't heard, you can find us at AmericanLibertyRadio.com. You can also find us at AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. That is our backup site. You can email the network at AmericanLibertyRadio.com. at USA.com, American Liberty Radio at USA.com. Hey, if you have any questions, concerns, whatever, hey, you know. You can also go to my Twitter, my personal Twitter. Tweet me, you twits. That's my Twitter. At Real W.S. Pierce. Real W.S. Pierce. And Dopey Me forgot to turn down the damn phone. I don't know, folks, man. I don't know. Anywho. Where'd that phrase come from? Anywho. Is that a Michigan thing? My dad used to say it, and he's from Michigan, so I don't know. Ex-CIA officer, surveillance, quote, intent was to allow for further leakage to hurt Trump administration, unquote. Let's go take a look at that one. Breitbart.com. Former CIA operations officer Scott Ollinger, co-host of Station Chief podcast, talked about the Susan Rice unmasking with Sirius XM host Raheem Kassam on Tuesday's Breitbart News Daily. Quote, I think it's an issue which deeply concerns people like myself and other people, working level officers in the intel community, unquote. Is it Eulinger, I guess? Said, Quote, even though at this point there seems to be no evidence of breaking the law, this quote-unquote unmasking of people was ill-advised at best. I think it really shows that abuse of power and the fact that many people in the Obama administration were willing to violate the spirit of the law designed to protect Americans, perhaps rather than the law itself, unquote. There's a huge 11-minute clip. I say huge. There's an 11-minute clip from SoundCloud on this, so I'm going to put this on American Liberty Radio podcast. It's spying. I don't care how you spin it. I don't care how you disguise it. It is spying. The Obama administration has spied on the American people, which is against the law. Period. End of sentence. So there you go. Now, the White House scolds media for lack of interest in scandal. What? Yeah. It's on Breitbart.com, about the middle of the page. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer suggested that the media was downplaying the news, revealing that former President Obama's National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, unmasked the identities of Trump campaign aides during the 2016 election. Quote, I'm somewhat surprised in terms of the level of interest that I've seen from the press corps, one set of developments versus another set of developments, unquote, Spicer said during the White House press briefing on Monday. Quote, I'm somewhat more from a media standpoint, somewhat intrigued by the lack of interest that we've seen in some of the public revelations and reporting that has gone into that in that direction that we've seen in some of the other directions that we've seen, unquote. Yeah. Don't look at this hand, look at the other hand. This is what the media does. Quote, there's a troubling direction of some of this. There's a troubling direction that some of this is going in, that we're going to let this review go on before we jump to it, unquote. In the aftermath of the news, some reporters suggested that Rice was merely doing her job by unmasking Trump's National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. New York Times reporter Glenn Thrush says, quote, if victim Flynn hadn't been, quote-unquote, unmasked, would Trump have fired him? Would it be better to have masked man Flynn running NSC? Unquote. New York Times reporter Glenn Thrush asked on Twitter, quote, unmasking sounds better than we picked a national security advisor who was on the payroll of two other countries, unquote. Spicer said that the administration would not try to assign a motive to Rice's reported behavior, but wait to see the results of the investigation. Yeah, folks, let me put that one on the page. I've just highlighted some things on there. There's more to it, so draw your own conclusion on it. I just highlighted the important stuff. Let's switch to RT.com, see what they're saying. By the way, in St. Petersburg in Russia, there was a bombing that killed a few people, and Putin's kind of pissed off about it. Okay? So, yeah. Now, there's so much going on, like I said before, it changes every 5 minutes. Head of Russian Rights Council urges major changes in public protest laws. Here, let me go click on that. This is from Maxim Shemetov of Reuters. Head of Russian Rights Council urges major changes in public protest laws. The head of the Presidential Human Rights Council said that he and his colleagues have received a number of complaints about police from participants of recent unsanctioned demonstrations and proposed changes to public protest laws. In an interview with RIA Novosti, chairman of the Presidential Council of Civil Society and Human Rights, Mikhail Fedotov, is that what it is? Sorry, Mikhail. Mikhail. He said that all complaints need to be thoroughly examined, adding that some of the police reports regarding the detentions, quote, looks as if they were copied with carbon paper, unquote. The official went on to propose that courts accept video records as proof of violations, not, quote, in personal letters, unquote, from law enforcement officers. Speaking of particular examples of violations allegedly committed by police following the March 26 protest, Fedotov mentioned keeping detainees outside of the cells equipped for keeping inmates at police stations, and that some of the underage protesters were kept in custody for relatively long periods of time without any charges. Last week, Fedotov sharply criticized the protest organizers and said the public should not blame the police for any unrest that occurred, as they were acting in accordance with the law. At the same time, he promised that any claims of unlawful actions on the part of the police officers must be investigated, and that if proved, all involved must be brought to justice. There's more to that. I'll put that on the Facebook page. Seems like they're pretty much in line with what we do over here. I heard a few months back, last year I think it was, I was listening to and watching a video on YouTube, and I do remember very distinctly that this person, I forget where it was, but you can go research this yourself, that the people in Russia have literally more, the Russian government is lenient on certain things that people do. You know, they have more rights in certain areas for certain purposes than we do in the United States of America. So you guys can go research that yourself. I don't have any information in front of me to, to let you know what they are. But I don't have the specifics. But I can tell you that there are certain things in the United States of America that the federal government of the United States, and I'm talking specifically Washington, D.C., want to get rid of. And four of them, maybe five, but four of them is the first 4 or 5 amendments of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution of the United States of America. Well, I'll just go here. They want to completely abolish the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. They do. They seriously do. I'm not lying to you. You go look at their purposes of what they do. Go look behind the scenes of what these politicians, if you want to call them that. No, they're communists, they're Marxists, they're fascists, they're any brand of totalitarianism that you can think of. They want to completely abolish the Constitution and create a third world country. That's what they want to do. Okay? And I just, I don't say that lightly either, because it is a very serious matter when our own government, Washington, D.C. specifically, and the people that we voted into office, as if that mattered, want to turn around and totally abolish the very document that protects us. We have a serious problem, folks. President Trump is trying to make sure that doesn't happen. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United, small word, United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Okay? Let me go down here and give you this. Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Period. I'm going to put that document on the Facebook page. That's the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America. I don't want to belabor the issue because I literally cannot stand anyone who is not educated enough to see the problems we face in this country. And I seriously think that as far as I'm concerned, and this is only my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, we have to do everything we can to stop the usurpation of power. In other words, we need to defend the republic. This is not a democracy, folks. This is a republic of, by, and for the people. This is a constitutional republic. I don't give one freaking rip what you say. Yeah, we're a democracy. I've had people scream at me, literally, saying we're a democracy. No, we're not. We're a constitutionally represented republic. What does that mean? It means that we the people rule, not Washington, D.C. But somehow, somewhere down the line, somebody got the wise idea. Wise in terms of quotes, air quotes, wise. No. The dumbest idea anyone had, they implemented certain things and kind of weaseled their way into government and started causing all sorts of problems. In other words, the Democratic Party, not the Republicans, are the cancer of the United States of America. Period. They've been that way since their inception. Oh, and by the way, members of the early Democratic Party were members of the KKK. Go look it up. The Republicans somehow got buffaloed into believing that certain things the Democrats were saying were, hey, they were viable, let's use those things. And guess what? The cancer spread. 241 years later, here we are, on the brink of collapse, on the brink of war, and on the brink of losing our identity as the United States of America. Now, I know in Australia, because I get word from over there as well, that they're facing similar problems within their government. And this person that posts stuff and messages me and all of that. Basically, in my understanding of it, says that Australia is the stepsister of the United States of America. So we're looking at this whole thing, this whole world, this whole world as being incapable of sustaining peace, freedom, liberty, and security in this nation. And I'm getting chills all over my body because I know I'm right. The United States of America cannot sustain this any longer. And it will take the people of the United States of America, the citizens of the United States of America, just as Brian Lang says, stand up, speak out, and get involved. And we need to do everything we can and understand the risk and get rid of our fear and push forward in the defense of the United States of America. I really don't give a rip what anybody else says when it comes to the concept of a democracy. Because the United States of America was built on the principles of freedom, allowing you to do your thing without me interfering, and vice versa. And protecting you when an enemy comes to our neighborhood. And starting my own business without over-regulation and over-taxation. By the way, taxation is theft, period, end of sentence. Now, the United States of America is on the brink of a complete and total economic collapse. When that happens, and it will, hopefully not in my lifetime, but it will, we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared. And whatever we can do in an entrepreneurial sense to sustain ourselves today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, we're going to have to do that. I remember years ago reading, I'm a big history buff, and I remember reading about World War II in the United States of America. My mother was 12 years old in 1942, a year after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Excuse me, she was 11. And she remembers that. And I asked my mom, I said, how old, what happened in downtown Stockton? Because she grew up in Stockton, California, lived there all her life. Her grandparents were in San Francisco. I asked my mom, what did you do on the day that the World War II ended in 1945? What was going on in Stockton? She says, you couldn't get downtown. You could not. There were so many people downtown celebrating the end of the war, you couldn't even walk down the streets without bumping into somebody. That was in Stockton, California in 1945. My dad went in the Army Air Corps, later the United States Air Force in 1947. He got out in 1950. And he told me, he says, the dumbest thing I ever did was not stay in. Was not make it a career. I said, well, then you wouldn't have had me. And he goes, yeah, that's true. He goes, and I know my dad loved me and I loved him and my mom and everything and all this, you know, the whole family and everything. But when you look back in history and you look at your mothers and you look at your fathers and grandparents and all of that, and you see what they've done in the 30s and 40s and in that whole time of chaos in the United States and the rationing and all of this, the only bright spot was in 1945 when World War II ended, for the United States of America to move from that whole tense feeling for like 12 years to just this whole relief, this sense of freedom that we had at the time. Now you got to remember, from 28 or 29, something like that, we were in other countries. fighting battles, doing all sorts. We, from about 1929, 1930 to 1945 and even beyond. But that whole 25-year period, from 1920 to 1945, I can tell you right now, looking back in history, that was hell on earth, man. The end of World War II in 1918, things started working a little bit better. But we had still had political problems because in 1913, President Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act and the Internal Revenue Act. And the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers said, hey, we'll loan you money for this war that we hear is going to be starting in Europe. They both sides were funded by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Okay? Go back in history and go look at that. World War I ended in 1918. From 1918 to 1928-29, things were kind of, they were there. But let me tell you something. When you look back in history, when you examine the very nature of a person in a city or a group of people in a city, and you look at the tensions that were in those cities, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, in those time frames in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, I can guarantee you there were political prisoners, there were protesters, there were all these people that wanted the wars to stop, that wanted to stop these things from happening. Let me tell you something. Watching all of it myself unfold from 1968, 69 to 1974, 75, I can tell you, I can only imagine how tense it was. Especially in my own family, when in 1974, I think it was June or something like that, it was around my brother's birthday at the time. He was turning 17 at the time. And he told his friend, I'm scared as hell, man. Nixon hadn't called all the troops back and stopped, the draft. The draft was still on at that time. And my brother said he was scared as hell because he knew the following year when he graduated high school, he'd have to go in the military, and he did not want to do that. He told his friend, he was telling me later on in life, he told his friend that, we'll just pack up and go to Canada. That's what he was telling me. But fortunately, President Nixon called everybody back and abolished the draft. He dropped the draft, and my brother, I have never seen him. Well, I've seen him later on being happy, but he was just ecstatic at that point. He goes, yeah, that was a sigh of relief. So, yeah. So I lived it in my own life, just in my own little, family, my brother and I, and my mom and dad. Let me tell you something. War is hell. As I think Patton said that. But General Smedley Butler said war is a racket. So we have to cut we have to destroy the ability for this to continue. We have to defend ourselves in ways that we must to stop every bit of this from happening. I may go into overdrive. But at the top of the hour, I'm going to go to an extended break. So, I'm going to go into overdrive. We have to stop what we're doing. We have to really take a look at what's going on, and we have to ask ourselves, are we willing to defend this nation of the United States of America, our home, our nation, our families, our neighborhoods, and this country from the domestic enemies that currently reside in this country? I'll be back right after this. AmericanLibertyRadio.com. Parts of this program have been pre-recorded for this particular podcast. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host.
He was the nation's youngest Eagle Scout at the age of 13, and twice journeyed to Asia before the advent of commercial flight. He attended America's first class on nuclear physics and was a pioneer at the dawn of American aviation. He led expeditions into then remote islands as a member of the famed Explorers Club and was a giant in the golden age of pulp fiction. He was a master mariner, licensed to captain vessels on any ocean, and a United States naval officer who commanded corvettes during World War II. His landmark work on the human mind rode bestseller lists for 100 consecutive weeks. And he's the most published and translated author of all time. He is L. Ron Hubbard, founder of Scientology.
For those that know me, that have known me, it would seem that not too many people actually know me. What I've gone through, the life I've lived, and how I grew up only pushed me into getting to know myself much better than anyone else would ever know me. Now I'm at a point where it doesn't matter to me what people actually know or think about me. How are things for me now? Much better, but that doesn't stop me from continuing to find out more about myself, or cause me to want to stop learning. Whether you want to believe it or not, L. Ron Hubbard was right. Regardless of your feelings or understanding, those that refuse to accept his findings and his breakthroughs of the human psyche and the science of the mind are refusing to accept one's self, their true unlimited existence, according to the theories and concepts based upon the research of L. Ron Hubbard. What I have found in my research of L. Ron Hubbard is both good and bad. I will not focus on the bad, that's for others to do. Their speculations and manufactured information is on them, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For the most part, what I have found is that mostly everything I know about myself came from working through various issues. When I came across Dianetics and Scientology and researched and studied each of them, I found that most of the things they described as being a problem for an individual were what I was dealing with. If it wasn't for Dianetics and Scientology and my subsequent involvement with them, I have no idea where I would be today. All in all, the experiences I've had with Dianetics and Scientology were very positive. I will say nothing bad about them. The information that L. Ron Hubbard came up with works if you choose to apply it. At this stage of my life, I can say that my studies in various religions and cultures, including studying Scientology, are not only ongoing but very insightful. Regardless of what people think of Scientology or L. Ron Hubbard, I can say for myself that everything I know is very positive and very good. For those that refuse to discuss the subject or who have a contradictory view of what I've said should, at the very least, go and talk with someone directly involved with the Church of Scientology and get the information you want instead of listening to people who hold grudges and have nothing but bad things to say. You determine your future with the information you acquire. What you see and hear will determine your present and future reality. Focus on yourself, not on what others say. Be mindful of the moment you are in right now, not the moments someone else designs for you. Your future depends on you doing something about it.
There are 3 factors in Scientology which are of the utmost importance in handling life. These 3 factors help you find answers to questions such as, how do I improve relationships? How can I explain my ideas to people? How do I handle my work better? We call these 3 factors in Scientology the ARC triangle. ARC is a word made from the initial letters of affinity, reality, and communication. By affinity, we mean emotional response. We mean the feeling of affection or lack of it. By reality, we mean the solid objects, the real things of life, the things which we agree are real. By communication, we mean an interchange of ideas between people. These three terms are interdependent one upon the other, and when one drops, the other two drop also. Can you remember a person who pushed you away when you felt affectionate? What was your immediate reaction to them? Were you in agreement with what they did? Did you feel like communicating more or less? Can you see how one of these points lowering affected the others? Well, reversely, when one rises, the other two rise also. It is only necessary to raise one corner of this triangle to raise the other two. Affinity and reality exist to further communication, and altogether, these form understanding. This triangle is the keystone of living associations. It is the common denominator of all life activities. Its use means a greater understanding of life itself.
The music and clips you will hear are those of their respective authors. No copyright infringement intended. This is American Liberty Radio Network on Spreaker.com. For more information, go to the website at AmericanLibertyRadio.com. Hey folks, how you doing? This is American Liberty Radio Network, AmericanLibertyRadio.com. Hey, I just caught the last part of that break. I had to step away for a minute, but I'm going to say this. In the next coming, probably next week, I'm looking at about Thursday or Friday, not sure yet, I'll let you know. I am going to either, because I got to find, information that I have used before in another broadcast that I did about my view and my opinions of not only Scientology and Dianetics, but also the people that are, hating on L. Ron Hubbard, basically. I don't really give a crap about, who says negative stuff. I've heard it before. I've heard it from his, L. Ron Hubbard's great-grandson. I've heard, all these things from various people over the last 20, maybe close to 20 years now. And I can tell you this much. They're disgruntled, okay? We're talking former members. We're talking of the church itself, former members. Also, people from who are ex-Scientologists who have a website using the techniques and technologies of L. Ron Hubbard, but not affiliating with the church. I've heard from them. I've, read their articles and everything as well. And I can tell you this much right now. Everybody has a view. Everybody has a particular perspective on this subject. And most of it's bad, and I'll tell you why. Bad in air quotes, and I'll tell you why. It's very simple. Nobody wants to learn. Nobody wants to learn. Here, let me give you a great example. I love this example because it's something that I've told people many times before. You and I are, we're at, let's say we're at my house. Let's say we walk outside, you're leaving, and you see this right next to your, behind your car, you see this red Volkswagen. You're going, oh my God, that's a candy apple red Volkswagen. Oh man, that thing looks sweet, right? I'm looking at it, you're looking at it, we're both looking at it. We see the same red, candy apple red Volkswagen. We walk over to it and you tell me, oh man, look at that. It's great on this. Wow, look at this. The paint job is perfect. Look at the black leather seats inside. Look at that. It's all cool. Look at that. And you're just praising this thing like crazy. You're looking at this, wow, this is great. And then I'm walking around as you're, saying all this. I'm walking around to the other side of the car, and I see this little dent. This fist-sized dent in the quarter panel. I see this crack in the window. I see the mirror that's a little skewed because it's not put onto the car really well. I see another dent in the driver's side door, and I tell you, hey, come on over here, look at all it's got, some dings on it, and you're like, oh, I don't care, I like this side's great, look at this, oh, that can be fixed, blah, blah, blah. And you're just, all up in arms about the fact that this car looks great. You don't even know if it runs well. You don't even know if it has an engine. You don't even know why it's sitting there behind your car. You have no idea who owns this car. But you're going to say it's the best car you ever saw? It's the best candy apple red Volkswagen Bug that you saw? When I'm looking at the problems over here on the driver's side, with the cracked window and the mirror that's askewed and the dent in the driver's door. And see, you don't care to look at everything. You don't care to look at everything because it'll shatter your paradigm. It will shatter your view of the very basic thing you want to believe in. By the way, I've studied Mormonism. I've studied Jehovah's Witnesses. I've studied Catholicism. I've studied, I went to church for close to 20 years, from 1993 to 2003. That was 10 years, I know, but even before that, 1984, 85, I went to Lakeview Assembly in Stockton, California. I moved, went to Reno, went to church there at a little place, little Foursquare church there as well. I came back to California from 85 to 87. I left in 88 and went back to Reno until 1992. From 1992 till I think it was like 2002, 2003. I went to church at two different churches in Stockton, California. So I've studied a great deal of Christianity, where it came from, what it is, what it means, all this, all that. I've done that. I've studied the parts of the Quran that were important, that, certain things people would give me, and they would email me this, and I'd go and check it out and look at I've looked at that. I've looked at, various religions all over the world, And let me tell you something. It's your own personal belief that will carry you from one day to the next. Has nothing to do with an invisible personified deity that you believe in. It has everything to do with you. That's it. You. Right there. Look in the mirror. There you are. What do you believe within yourself? How do you get yourself up in the morning? How do you motivate yourself during the day without a couple of cups of coffee? How do you get from one day to the next? And what do you look at? Do you look at the one side of the red candy apple red Volkswagen Bug? Or do you walk around and look at the whole thing and go, oh, I had no clue. Because Mama didn't raise no fool and Grandma taught me better. And I guarantee you, I look at everything from every angle that I can, if possible. And I take everything into consideration, from what crap people say about Catholicism or this or that or even Scientology and Dianetics. I take all that crap and I listen to it, and I focus my attention on, number one, why are they saying this? And number two, what happened to cause them to say this? There's a cause and a reaction to everything. So think about that one as well. There's a lot you don't know about me. Okay? And my family doesn't even know. I would even go as far as saying my family doesn't even know about 90% of the stuff that I've done, because they never hung around me. My own brother and my own sister-in-law and my nieces never hung around me, never asked me questions, never spent time with me, never walked with me, never talked with me, never looked at any of the things that I've researched. And I've got a trunk full of research material. And I'm still gathering more as we speak. So in the next coming days, maybe next week, maybe I'm looking at about Thursday, Friday, I'm going to go in depth into, well, I say in depth. Let's put it this way. I will go as far as I can with explaining certain things about the various subjects that I just mentioned. Okay? 1, I'm going to talk about Scientology. 2, I'm going to talk about the Christian faith denominations, how they all came about and why they are 501c3 nonprofit organizations. I'm going to talk about that and tell you how much of a fraud that truly is. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get down into all of that as much as I possibly can and as much as I can share. I'm looking about Thursday, Friday, but I'll let you know. Keep looking at my posts on Facebook. You can go to my personal page, which is Wayne S. Pierce. Wayne S. Pierce, Pierce. Or just go to The Truth Experience on Facebook, because that's what it's going to be. The Truth Experience broadcast. Going to be live, so jump in the chat room and say hi to me. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff, too, other than, the churches and all of that. So I may even get into, a little bit of physics. Who knows? I know boring stuff. I know why I heard about physics in high school and college. That's boring. Really? Did you know that you were made up of the same particles that are floating around outside in outer space? Did you know that? You didn't know that, did you? Or if you had some inkling of the fact that this is true? So think about that for a minute. I'll probably get into all that, and I'm going to try to get a segment recorded with Nick Tucker, and we'll talk about some other things as well. I spoke about outer space just a second ago. We're going to talk about the aspect of extraterrestrials and the vastness of the universe and the theories we have on even the facts that are there supporting the development of certain, let's just say, black projects of the United States military-industrial complex and DARPA. So we'll get into that, a little bit of alien agenda stuff. So I'm going to try to get a hold of him and try to get him to record something, or I can record something, and we can go from there. But probably around Thursday, Friday of next week. Not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. So, I got a lot of stuff going, so I don't know if Thursday and Friday is going to be good. But I'm going to shoot for those 2 days. If not, I will tell you what day it is. So go to The Truth Experience on Facebook, and I will put a blog up, kind of like a teaser, if you will, on thetruthexperience.weebly.com about what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go to and write a blog for the website, thetruthexperience.weebly.com, and talk about all that stuff and give you some insights of what, of what I know it is and what I've researched for the past 2017? Yeah, about 25, no, scratch that, about 30 years now. So, yeah. I'm going to get into all that. So if you're going to tell me, I saw Leah Remini's documentary, I saw this and I saw that, and Scientology's bunk and blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, you do better. Okay, pull your philosophy out of your ass and you do better. Okay? Pull your information together and create something that people will understand that is viable and workable and does help people. You can't, because you don't know how, because you've never learned. I have. Not that I'm smarter than you, but I've learned what works and what doesn't. Simple as that. 1 + 1 = 2. Put up 2 fingers. 1 + 1 = 2. That's how simple I keep it. If I find something and work with something and get the resources together and pull them all together in one little area, I start picking away and looking at them and really, it's like a puzzle on a table. If you've got some foreign parts in there from another puzzle, you just put those back in that box and you concentrate on what you're working on, right? Simple. But anyway. So hopefully I'm going to shoot for Thursday or Friday of next week. And I'm going to see what I can do. And if I can't do it on Thursday or Friday or next week, I'm going to let you know when I'm going to do it. But I'm going to shoot for next week. So, so I'm just putting it out there. So anyway, I'm going to get in to something else here in just 1 second. But I'm going to remind you that you guys can be very helpful in keeping the lights on around here. If you so choose to do so. Go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com. Go to the sponsors page. Become a patron. Hit that. Become a patron. Hit that button. Drop $1 in the kitty. Keep the lights on around here, and I can keep this show going. So, if you like, if you want to, it's completely up to you. But I would like it because I want to keep the lights on around here. I want to keep this show going. I'm going to keep the website up and running and all of that for you to, for you, basically. It's for you. So if you want to, help me keep it up for you, then, hey, there you go. Keep the lights on around the studio because, I want to keep doing this. And besides that, ultimately, I'm just going to tell you this is my day job, folks. This is what I do. I get zip. I get squat. I get zero, zip, zilch, nada for being behind this microphone. But the lights have to stay on for me to keep doing this. So if you want to go and help out as much as you can, that's fine. That's entirely up to you. Go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com. Go to the sponsors page and drop $1 in the kitty and become a patron. And help out American Liberty Radio Network. Keep getting the news out. Keep getting the information out to people who are not able to get it at this point and who are a little busy in their life, living life to the fullest, and all of that. So if you want to help out, please do. I would thank you very, very, very much, and do appreciate that, and the network appreciates you as well. So go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com, go to the sponsors page, click on Become a Patron, and drop $1 in the kitty. There you go. Put up, it's right there, $1. That's all it says. So there you go. So anyway, folks. If there is anything you want me to talk about in the upcoming podcast, such as tomorrow or the next day or whatever, please email me at AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com, AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com, or go to American Liberty Radio Podcast on Facebook and drop in a subject there, and I will definitely get the information and talk about it. That's American Liberty Radio Podcast on Facebook, or email me at AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com, AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. Folks, you are what drives me to continue. To help you out understand what's going on, to help you learn what is coming out of Washington, D.C., and to help you learn who the opposition forces are against peace, freedom, liberty, and security for this nation. You are the driving force of my job. This is what helps me continue, because you want to know. That's the ultimate thing. You want to know. And without this show, or shows like Brian Lang at Live Truth Radio, or Nick Tucker at Distorted Reality, or many number of people, J-Man, John Christopher Collins at thetruthwar.net, you guys are the driving force behind me doing what I do. And that's really, really cool, and I really, really do appreciate that. And if you really want to help out, continue to do that, hey, you can do that. You can advertise on the network as well if you want. You can go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com, go to the sponsors page. All the information is right there for you to sponsor the network or to advertise on the network. Or you can just, a little button down there that says become a patron. Just drop a buck into Kitty and you'll be fine. But I do appreciate it. The network appreciates it. And, hey, that's what I do, folks. I'm here to help you. Okay, so there you go. So this is my day job. This is what I do. I do other things as well. So this is not the only thing that I do, but this is my quote-unquote day job that I do. And so, yeah, if you like it, let me know. That's all you got to do. Go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com. Go to the sponsors page. All the information about sponsoring the network is right there, and you can click on the Become a Patron link and help out in that way as well. So I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Coming up on the next podcast on American Liberty Radio Podcast, I'm going to talk about some other things as well, probably highlight some things I've already talked about, but I'm probably going to hit some new information as well. So that is on the next podcast, but let me leave you with this, because this just came in across the wires, as they say. Kit Daniels at Infowars.com, 4th of April 2017. Spanish gunship enters British waters off of Gibraltar. Action could easily lead to war between NATO nations. A Spanish gunship has illegally entered British waters off the coast of Gibraltar, which could lead to a war over the strategic Mediterranean territory. To put it into perspective, the UK waged war against Argentina in 1982 over a similar territorial dispute. So I'm going to put that on the American Liberty Radio podcast Facebook page, and I'll talk about that one tomorrow as soon as I get more information pertaining to it. So, folks, you guys rock, man. Speaking of rock, go check out a friend of mine, Mr. Tom Slick, over at Radio Rock 92.6 The Blitz, playing all kinds of indie music from around the world from various artists. And, check him out. Go check him out. Tom Slick, The Morning Brew, Radio Rock 92.6 The Blitz. Go to the website at 926, the numbers, 926theblitz.rocks, 926theblitz.rocks. Now I'm going to go have more coffee so I can be able to talk, folks. So I got to go have lunch, man. So it's lunchtime around here, so I'm going to go take a few minutes and have lunch, and I'm going to go find some more information, do some more research, and I'm pushing for next Thursday or Friday to do that. I'm going to do a two-parter again, too, by the way. It may just be 3 hours, or I may do an hour and come back and do another hour, but I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about Scientology. I'm going to talk about Catholicism. I'm going to talk about, all these other religions, not only the good parts about them, but I'm going to talk about the bad parts about them as well. I'm going to, look into and give you information about Vernon Howell or David Koresh and all of that happened back in the 90s. I'm going to, get into a lot of stuff, folks. Hopefully I'm going to shoot for Thursday or Friday. If not, you can just go to The Truth Experience on Facebook and see my posts and get your information as well from there as to when, what day, what time, all of that. So hopefully I'll be able to do it next Thursday or Friday, and hopefully I'll have a segment in the show with Nick Tucker and I talking about, alien life from other planets. Who knows, Hey, it's The Truth Experience. We go anywhere and talk about anything. So, it's, so check it out, folks. I'm pushing for next Thursday or Friday. I'll let you know on The Truth Experience on Facebook. So, and go to thetruthexperience.weebly.com for more information. And folks, it's always good to come to you. And if you want me to continue to come to you, please consider contributing to American Liberty Radio Network. Go to AmericanLibertyRadio.com on the sponsors page. Folks, I'm out of here. This is American Liberty Radio Network. on Spreaker.com and also AmericanLibertyRadio.com, sharing the truth one fact at a time without all the BS.